Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time in America. And this movie is directed by Sergio Leone, and it came out in 1984, starring Robert De Niro. And I just watched this movie on Netflix, and it's 3 hours and 45 minutes long. Apparently, there's like two different versions, and there's like a version that's like over 4 hours long. And I was very thankful to watch the shorter version because I was not really a fan of this movie. I'm sorry. The 3 hour and 45-minute runtime was not justified at all to me. I felt as though if this movie was 2 hours long, then you wouldn't lose anything. And there were just so many parts of it that could have been removed from the movie entirely. And I feel as though it would have been a lot better for me. Because if you're going to have a movie that's really long, then I need something to really attach onto or care about or find interesting. And this movie just didn't have anything like that. And there were some performances that were really good. Like, I thought Robert De Niro was great. James Wood was good. Joe Pesci, he was in the movie for a few scenes, but I thought he was good. And there's good acting, and the movie looks nice. There's some good music, and that's about it. My biggest problem would be that I just didn't care about anything that was going on, and I didn't really find any of the characters to be interesting or memorable, and that's a huge problem for me. And anytime something dramatic was happening, it was very by the numbers and what I was expecting, and there was nothing unique added onto it. It didn't have any form of self-awareness or anything that would keep me entertained. And I'm not saying that if this movie was self-aware, then it would have been like an amazing movie, or that it needed a lot of comedy to keep me engaged throughout. It's that it's taken so seriously, and there's good enough elements to hold it up from being funny bad, and unfortunately, since that's the case, it's just fine, forgettable, and I can't really laugh at it, and it's so long, and if I'm gonna watch a funny bad movie, I would like it to be under 2 hours, not almost 4 hours. And the pacing for this movie was just really slow, and I don't really feel as though it benefited the movie at all. I didn't feel as though it gave me time to take everything in and like make the environment feel as though it was a living, breathing world. I did feel as though I was in the time period that it was set in. Sometimes it's in the 20s, 30s. At one point, I think it's in the 60s. Most of what's going on is just dialogue and characters moving really slowly, and sometimes there's a shootout, and it just doesn't work for me. And it kind of reminded me at points of The Godfather mixed with A History of Violence, but it didn't have any of those elements that made them work for me. Like, I didn't find any characters interesting, like I said already, and the movie took so long just to do the most basic things ever. And without spoiling anything, there are tons of pointless characters and storylines in this movie that did not add to my experience at all. And I just didn't feel anything while watching the movie. I didn't find any of it funny. I was never in love with the movie's tone. I was never intrigued or anything. Like, there was not one thing in this movie that entertained me. And because of the pacing being so slow, every scene feels really stretched out, and it just feels as though nothing is happening because barely anything happens in just one scene in this movie. And you go to the next scene, barely anything happens. Next scene, barely anything happens. And that's the whole movie. It's just barely anything happening over the course of 3 hours and 45 minutes, and it never pays off. And unfortunately, I cannot recommend this movie. I was bored to tears with it. I didn't care about what was going on. It was well made overall, which is why I don't hate it. But if something doesn't click with you, then there isn't much you can do about it. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Once Upon a Time in America a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of Once Upon a Time in America. And my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Captain Ron, a movie that I used to watch quite a few times. And I'm excited to revisit it, so look forward to that. But until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.